Another crisp morning here in Estes Park, Colorado. Just got finished with a weekend full of seance shows and a magic performance. I do bookends on Sundays at the Underground Theater, and then I do 13 the seance Wednesday through Sunday every evening. Had a very interesting encounter last night. There's a portion of the story in 13 where I discuss the history of a little girl that stayed at the hotel with her father every summer for 10 years. It was their favorite place to spend the summers up here in the mountains in the thin, crisp, clean air, even back in the early 1900s. And she was autistic, a little girl named Lily, who was autistic. They didn't even have the word back then. She was just a very special girl with very special needs. But in reading her father's journals, you can see the patterns of what she was gifted with, and the way that he helped her deal with that, getting her the right medical attention, getting her the right therapy kind of attention to make her life as easy as he possibly could. He was a very loving, doting father. And as I'm telling this story about Lily and about her autism and the way that she dealt with it, and the people around her did, a woman in the audience broke down in tears. And in the course of like coincidences, her little girl, who was also named Lily, was just diagnosed with autism. And she and her husband were learning to deal with it. And of course, it's quite a burden, and it's quite a stressful road to have to walk. So hearing that story and the coincidence that went along with it just really affected her immediately. And she broke down in tears and told us about what she was going through. And the lady seated next to her put her hand on the lady's shoulder and said, "I don't know that I believe in things like karma or fate, but what I do know is that I'm a clinical psychologist, and I deal specifically with children with autism. And if you'd like, perhaps we could get together tomorrow and have lunch and talk about some things. There's maybe some insight I could give you. Maybe there's some advice that I could give you. I'd like to buy you lunch and just talk about the journey that you're taking." And everyone in the room was moved, including the woman on the other side of this lady, who kind of looked in and said, "Well, this is really kind of interesting, because I am a doctor, and I also specialize in children with autism, and I may have some insight myself from a slightly different perspective. I'm not a psychologist, I'm an MD, but I work with several different children who are autistic. And if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to join you for lunch as well." And this became already astounding. And then a third lady sitting over on the far side over here spoke up and said, "I don't really have a doctorate, but my grandchild is autistic, and she is a delight. And the stories that I could tell you, just the uplifting and the inspiring things that come along with the burdens that we also have to bear. Can I join you as well?" And within that just first couple of minutes, this was in 10 minutes of the beginning of the show, they're already talking, and this group of people is now set to have lunch the next day to talk with this couple who are starting this journey. And I have to tell you, when the seance show literally landed in my lap, I'd never done anything like that before. Now, of course, I've been doing the magic for years, and I've been on stage since I was a child, but I'd never been presented with this kind of a show in the short amount of time that I had to build it. And one of my goals in creating the seance program was that people should leave feeling good, not scared or frightened or traumatized by a spook show, But somehow, in the middle of this spooky show that deals with death and loss and people becoming comfortable with the losses they have, it has evolved into the uplifting show that I wanted it to be. But even I did not foresee this strange coincidence that people that could help and build up and have experience in certain areas would suddenly be brought together with someone who needed those moments as well. It is astounding to me, the coincidence that happened, the fate that brought them together, and that I could be used as a catalyst for those people ending up, and these people, some of them were from Wyoming, some of them from Wisconsin, a couple from Kansas, out on vacation and coming together, not only in the same hotel, but in the same room for the event that I was putting forward. I am humbled by this. I am grateful to be used as an instrument for those kinds of meetings, for those kinds of gatherings. The show was a success. I mean, the rest of the evening played out beautifully and it went really, really well. But in my mind, at least, it was vastly overshadowed by the fact that here's this couple that is faced with a crisis in their lives from the way they see it. And they walk out of the room with hope. They walk out of the room with new connections, new friends, a different way of viewing the path that they're on. They left with hope. And in this week that the Americans, us Americans, set aside a day to be thankful at its core, I have been given one more thing to be thankful for, to have gratitude for, that I get to be present, that I get to be a witness to these kinds of amazing things. And all because I went to work. I took the gift that I have been given and I put it to work. And when I stand before my Creator and they ask me, what did you do with the gifts that we gave you? I can confidently say, I used them. I used them all up. It's the beginning of a good week. It's a beautiful, sunny, cold day. And I'm grateful to be alive and be a part of it. I hope there's love where you are.